discuss about a concept called migration. So let's say if at all if you have hosted your application on on-premise data center, and if you wanted to migrate them into the Azure, so what are the process and what are the things that we can consider? And before we go ahead and perform the migration, so what will be the planning? Everything will discuss. So the first and foremost thing is like a migration goals, like why the companies are planning to migrate their application or a servers or a storage or a databases which are hosted on a on-premises data center to Microsoft Azure cloud. So if you remember in the beginning, as part of our demonstrations, okay, we have discussed certain things like what are the basic advantages companies moving to the cloud. Okay, the first and foremost thing is like and scale and economy. So these are the three primary things and benefits. Okay, companies are majorly looking at. Okay, when they wanted to move to the cloud. Okay, the first thing could be the speed. Like let's say when I say speed, so if at all if they wanted to create a new servers or if at all if they wanted to plan any deployment on the on premises, so they need certain time, certain approvals, and certain process. So whereas in case of cloud, where they can just go ahead and perform the things whatever they want if they have subscription and certain go ahead. And scale if at all if they wanted to set up any DR, that is disaster recovery, as well as if they wanted to scale up their business into the different region or different countries, they have to invest a lot, very huge. Okay, let's say I have a application or a company in India, or if I wanted to start my company or my applications to be used within US region, okay, I have to spend huge lot of money. Okay, but whereas in case of cloud, so that could be very easy. You can just take a one more subscription and I can host all the services and an application in a east to east region subscription. Okay, that is something about the scale. And coming to the economy, that is companies are able to save, okay, so hell lot of money. It's been like close to 50 to 60%, okay, they're able to save just by moving to the cloud. Okay, so these are some of the migration goals, okay, why companies are looking for deploying their migrating their applications, migrating their servers to cloud. Okay, here you could see certain these things. Okay, addressing the hardware obsolescence cycle and moving away from the pre-purchase capacity model, lack of IT agility, desire to refocus on core companies competencies, expensive of maintaining global presence, and enable disaster recovery scenarios. So these are the some of the things. And moving ahead, so in a migration, okay, we have a three phases. Okay, one is like a discovery, okay, migration, and optimize. Okay, so we'll walk you through what are these three process. Okay, so with the different use cases. Okay, so before that, okay, let me quickly walk you through here. So when you're planning for a migration to Azure, consider the following phases. Okay, the first thing will be like a discovery and assessment, we call it is. Okay, so when you say discovery, okay, what we do is, okay, we gain the better visibility on premises workloads and assess the optimal resource level to run them into the Microsoft Azure. That means, so whatever the workloads we have on an on premises, okay, we'll discover them. Like when I say discover, so we'll be installing certain agent on top of those particular servers, and we'll be capturing the complete information of those servers. Let's say, okay, if I'm running 2016 data server and I have hosted certain .NET application, so when I perform the discovery, it will capture the entire server configuration. What is the operating system? Okay, so what is the size of the server, and what is the memory of the server, and which type of application is running, and to host that particular server, okay, what is the web server that they are using, what are the binaries, what are the dependencies, okay, whether that particular application or a server can migrate to Azure or not. Okay, these are the complete things, okay, so we can perform on a discovery. Okay, so once you're done with it, okay, here you could see Azure Migrate is the primary tool for this and includes. Yeah. So to perform this particular phases, migration phases, okay, we can use a tool that is a Microsoft native tool called Azure Migrate. So we'll go ahead and look into this particular Azure Migrate. So as part of this particular Azure Migrate, as an initial phase, okay, when you perform a discovery, so here we can say certain things. Can you please be on mute? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So automated server app and database discovery. That means, okay, so automatically, okay, when you perform this particular agent installation, okay, it will discover the entire information of the your servers, application, and the database. And intelligent workload right sizing and customizing for the max ROI. Okay, so return on investment ROI is nothing but, so whatever the once you're done with the discovery, okay, we can also perform the assessment. That means, so if I migrate this particular servers and my application to Azure, so how much it will be costing per month, and you can just have an entire calculation, okay, by using this particular assessment phase. And we can also have a workload configuration analysis and recommendations. This is what, okay, about the assessment. I will show you the basic things also how we can do it. And once you're done with the discovery and assessment, like performing certain analysis on your on-premises servers and an application, and will perform the migration. So when I say migrate, okay, move selected workloads to Azure. So this we can achieve it, okay, in a two ways. Okay, so let's say, okay, we can use the Azure Site Recovery also for this, and we can also use the Azure Migrate. Okay, so these are the two Microsoft native tools. If at all, if you wanted to perform the migration of your on-premises workload to Azure, okay, so these are the Microsoft native tools. Azure Migrate is one of the tool, and one more thing is ASR. We call it as Azure Site Recovery. Okay, so as part of ASR is a primary tool for this particular and includes, okay, lift and shift of servers. When I say lift and shift, okay, so we're just copy and we're just replicating your on-premises server to Azure without any changes. Let's say if you have a server of two virtual CPU and 8 GB RAM, okay, as it is, okay, you're replicating to Azure. That is lifting and shifting it into Azure. Very simple. Apps, databases, and data. Very simple. And we can also perform this containerized of existing application and infrastructure, and modernize options for app and database. So let's say if you have a application of a code basis on your on-premises, let's say a .NET application which is hosted on a .NET coding language. So we can migrate that into as a containerized application. Okay, we can perform the modernization. Okay, so that also we'll discuss about now. Okay, so this is something about once you're done with the discovery and assessment, we'll go ahead and perform the migration. So once you migrate or once you replicate your workloads into Azure, so you have to perform the optimization. When I say optimization, okay, you have to perform the monitoring, security, and you should see, like you should always look into how can I save the cost. Okay, fine tune your Azure based workloads and maximize your return on investment, ROI. There are many Microsoft partners to help you, with backup, monitoring, security, and cost management. So once you migrate to a servers, so these are the things, okay, that we are going to perform. Okay, so for performing this particular optimize. Okay, so we'll be scheduling the backup, and we'll be setting up the monitoring, and we'll be performing the security assessment, and at the end, okay, we'll be performing the cost management. Okay, so here you could see certain things. Okay, so high level steps. Okay, so to perform the migration. Okay, so moving ahead, okay, we'll perform this particular things. Okay, how we can do these. Okay, so let's say the initial step is like discovery. Okay, so provide assessment of your on-premises workload for migrating to Azure. So these are the things, okay, that we can perform, and this is how, okay, so we're gonna do this. So before I go ahead and do this, okay, let me go ahead and show you certain things about the Azure Migrate. So I'm going to create a Azure Migrate project here, and here you could see, so this is the Azure Migrate. It's a Microsoft native tool, okay, so to perform the migration of your on-premises servers to Azure. And here you could see, so migrate your on-premises data center to Azure. So if at all, if you wanted to go through this particular document, okay, you can just go to the learn more, and it will be navigated to the Microsoft document page. Okay, this is about Azure Migrate. Okay, so if you go to the common questions and tutorials, okay, you can perform how we can perform the discovery, how we can perform the assessment, how we can migrate it, and how we can okay, do this particular containerized application. Right, so let me come back here first, and before this, okay, so let's see here. So whereas, okay, we can migrate your, if at all, if you wanted to migrate your Windows or Linux or SQL servers which are hosted, which are available in your on-premises data center, we can go ahead and discover and you know assess and migrate. Same as, okay, so if at all, if you have only SQL servers, okay, we can go with this database migration. We call it as a DMA tool, that is database management assessment. And we also have a one more option, that is explore more scenarios, which are like if at all, if you have a web apps or certain things, so we can also perform the migration. Okay, and the left hand side here you could see migration goals also. Okay, these are the different use cases. And when I go to the explore more, okay, here you could see how we can perform the migrations and certain documentations and certain use cases here. Okay, you can find it here. Okay, so if I come back to the migration goals, okay, if at all if I wanted to migrate certain Windows or Linux or SQL servers, I can start from here. Okay, or if at all if I wanted to migrate SQL servers, I can do it from here. And if at all if I wanted to migrate any VDAs, I can do it here. If at all if I wanted to migrate any web apps which are hosted on premises, we can also do it. And coming to the data box, okay, it is kind of physical migration. So whereas let's say if you have some terabytes of data on your on premises, maybe like a data center, maybe in a database or maybe in an application level. So if at all if you wanted to migrate that complete data, so the Microsoft recommendation and the Microsoft best practices use the data box. The concept of data box is something like so you'll be having a certain vehicle from the Microsoft side which has a data center set up on the within a vehicle, and they will come to your data center and they will copy the data physically, and they will go to the nearby data center where you wanted to have your data in a Azure Microsoft Azure regions, and they will paste your data. Okay, this is something like a physical migration. Okay, so if at all if I wanted to show you certain things, let's say Azure data box. Okay, so I'll go back to the images here. Let's say Azure data box. Here you could see Azure data box migration. And if I come down, one second. Okay, so let me walk you through the document, so but so that you will get certain things here. So you can see certain use cases also. Okay, and what scenarios okay, will be going to with this particular data box, and what are the benefits okay buying going with this particular things. Okay, the high level thing is the speed, and it is very secured because when you have a huge number of data which you wanted to transfer, okay, so when you're migrating, okay, if something gets stuck, okay, it will be again problem. So features and specifications, you can see who are all okay do performing these things. And okay, these are the certain steps workflows. Let me see here certain prerequisites. Yeah, how they are connecting the how they're copying the data and all other stuff. Okay, we're able to see it here. And if I go to the tutorials, okay, how to order it, how to set up it, how to upload it, and how to do the same thing. If I go to the concepts, yeah, very simple way. Okay, so let's say I'll go back here to the documentation page, and if I go to this few more documents, let's see. Yeah, so here you could say certain yeah, I was looking for this actually. Yeah, so if you see here, okay, so Microsoft, okay, with the help of this Azure data box, okay, get your data to the cloud. So it's a physical migration. So whereas even in interviews also, if they ask you certain things, like if any customer comes to you and asks, okay, whereas if we have a some some 50 terabytes data or 100 terabytes data, and if the customer asks you to migrate to Azure, what is the best practice that you suggest? So we definitely go with the Azure data box because okay, you have a very huge uh, data that you wanted to migrate to Azure. So from your on-premises data center, okay, so you will be having a separate vehicle. Okay, that vehicle okay will go to your data center and will copy the data and paste it in a Azure data center. So for that, okay, so we have a certain procedure. So probably like you can go through this particular documentations, but how exactly it will be done and all other stuff. How we can perform the order and what will be the pricing details. So if I go to the pricing, okay, Azure Databox pricing. Okay, here you could see uh, service free for 1 unit, 10 days includes. Okay, it will be like a pricing extra day free. Okay, how much it will be? Okay, standard shipping prices. Okay, it will be like $95. Okay, so if it is a heavy workloads, okay, so order processing fee and daily disk usage free and standard shipping free. Okay, everything you can see the detail here okay, within the Azure data box. So moving ahead here, So we'll see. Okay, I'll walk you through the high level steps. Okay, if at all if I wanted to migrate any servers here. So before if I wanted to go ahead and perform anything, I have to create a project here. So here you could see getting started. So if at all if I wanted to perform this particular discovery and assessment such things, I need to create a project. So let me click on create a project here for now. And I would say here, okay, so let's say I'll create a new resource group, and I would say Azure Migrate RG01, and let me click on OK. And let me give certain name for this particular thing. I'll say demo Azure Migrate. Okay, and 01. And by default, it has taken a geography as a Asia Pacific. If at all, if you wanted to go with any specific, you can go ahead and create the project in the specific region. Okay, let's say I'll go with the US. Okay, so when I go to the advanced, okay, an advanced level, okay, so we can have a public endpoint here for the connectivity method. If you wanted to say what exactly it is about, so connect your project either publicly or via public IP addresses or privately using these particular private endpoints. Okay, so for now, okay, I'm going with it as a default, and I can just click on create. So once I create a project, okay, I can choose the different tools for performing this particular discovery and assessment and for migration. So apart from Microsoft Azure native tools, that is Azure Migrate and Azure Site Recovery, we also have a third-party tools, okay, wherein you can perform the migration and assessment. Okay, let me walk you through once it is created. Okay, let me come back here. Yeah, deployment is done. Okay, so if I do refresh here, let's say I'll go back here and come back here. First, okay, I need to choose the project. Okay, let me choose the project which I have created now, and let me click on OK. And here, if you see, as soon as I added a project. Okay, so by default, okay, here it is giving as a assessment tools. Okay, so to perform the discovery. Okay, so once I perform the discovery, I can perform the migration. This is something like default migration Azure Migrate tool. Here you could see Azure Migrate. So if at all if you wanted to perform these activities, okay, by using certain third-party tools, okay, here you could see add more assessment tools. So you can just click on it here, and here you could see these are the different tools, okay, that we can have. Okay, so to perform this particular initial discovery and assessment. So we have like a Cloud Image, okay, Corinto Tech, Device 42, Movere. I think Movere was acquired by Microsoft, okay, in the year 2019. Okay, let me go back here. Okay, when I click on learn more, let me remove this one. Okay, if you see here, so September 4th 2019, okay, so Microsoft was acquired this particular company. Okay, so they majorly help you to perform the initial discovery and assessment of your on-premises workloads. Okay, you can go through this document. Okay, the document page. Okay, how how do they perform this particular entire migration these things. And since it is a Microsoft product, okay, here you could see the Microsoft documentation itself. Okay, so this is something about the Movere, and we have a rest other tools. These tools are not free of cost. Okay, they will be charging certain things, and you can see their pricing details. This is for the discovery and assessment. Same way, okay, even for migration also, okay, we can have a different migration tools. Okay, so if I come down, okay, here, okay, by default it has chosen as a Azure Migrate, because Azure Migrate is a free service. Okay, if at all if you wanted to perform certain POCs. So here, okay, you could see, okay, if at all if I wanted to add more for performing the Azure Migrate, okay, here I have a few more tools, like a Carbonate. I have Quarantotech, okay, Rackware, and Jetto. So these are the some of the tools. In addition to that, okay, we have some more also, Cloud Recon, and some more tools, okay, which are not listed here. Some of the companies might follow use those tools also. Okay, but on a high level, okay, here you could see. So once I have a project, okay, let's say if at all if I wanted to perform the discovery, so I can just click on this particular discover. So when I click on discover, okay, so it will ask me, okay, so what type of workloads you wanted to discover. Okay, so here you could see different options. Okay, the first one will be like for the VMware, and second one will be for the Hyper-V, and the third one will be like other environment. Let's say we can migrate the certain servers, okay, from Azure to like AWS to Azure, or a GCP to Azure, or maybe any physical server to Azure. If at all, if you wanted to perform that, okay, you can follow this particular final step. Okay, so for now, let's say if I go with the VMware, what will happen? So when I go with the VMware, okay, so here, okay, I will be downloading a certain OVA file. This is like a virtual appliance, okay, so which has a 12 GB size. I have to download it, and I have to install this particular setup. So let me walk you through this document, okay, how we are going to perform it here. And if you see this document, okay, this is something, okay, exactly what I was talking about. So this is the architecture, okay, closely integrated with the components of a VMware vCenter environment. Okay, so this could be the project. Okay, we have created a project, and here, okay, we are performing the discovering the missions. And once we perform the discover, it will collect the information, and we have to perform the assessment of the project. Okay, if you see the here, okay, let me zoom it here in a bit. Let me try to close this one. Okay, yeah, so if you see here, the first step, okay, what I'm performing is, okay, I'm downloading and configuring the appliance. That means, okay, so this is the OVA file, okay, that which I'm downloading. Okay, and once I done with the downloading, okay, so what I'm doing is, okay, so this is a kind of collector VM. That OVA file is kind of a collector VM. Okay, this OVA file, okay, which I'm going to install on the vCenter server. Okay, for your VMware ESX host VMs, okay, you will be having a master server, okay, that we call it as a vCenter server. So whereas it has all the information of your number of servers. So on top of it, okay, we'll be installing this particular collector VM. It will start, collecting the data. Here you could see first I'm downloading and I am installing it. Then it will start the discovering, and it will, collect the raw data, and it will, create the assessment, and it will process the data to the Azure Migrate itself. So once it is done processing the data, so we can perform the assessment, like how much it is going to cost per month and whether can be migrated or not. So let's say if I have a report, okay, how my assessment looks like. Okay, so let's say this is something about creating the project, and here we have a certain limitations. Okay, so for creating a project, okay, we can discover all to like 1500 VMs per project, and up to 1500 assessed VM per project, and up to 20 projects per subscription. And moving ahead, okay, so this is how, okay, we are performing now, and this is how your this particular assessment report looks like. Okay, so let me try to copy this image. I'll put it in a browser. Okay, let me open a Paint. Okay, okay, so maybe let me try to drag it a bit. Okay, so here if you see, okay, this is how, okay, your assessment report looks like. Whereas like so it will give you the result saying that whether those servers are ready to migrate to Azure or not. Okay, so how many are ready, and how many are ready with the conditions, or how many are not ready for migrating Azure, and the readiness is unknown. Okay, so this kind of complete report, okay, okay, we can generate. Okay, so readiness with the conditions means, okay, so in a on Azure, let's say we cannot migrate a Windows servers, okay, which are below 2012 and R2. If at all, if you wanted to migrate any servers, okay, the server should be minimum 2012 and R2 and above. Below that, okay, you cannot perform the migration. So for those scenarios, okay, either you can migrate the operating system to the latest version and migrate. That is something about the condition. Or else, okay, we can create a snapshot. So we have a certain tools, okay, to generate a snapshot. So then we can move the snapshots into storage account, and from there we can create a new virtual machines. And once you're done with this particular readiness, okay, we can also see the monthly estimated cost. Okay, so for the computing for this particular servers, okay, how much it will be costing, and for the storage, how much it will be costing, and what will be the storage estimation cost per month. So everything you can have in detail report like this as part of this particular assessment. Okay, here you could see ready for green, ready with the conditions orange. Okay, readiness is unknown is a blue. Okay, once we have this particular assessment, Okay, so yeah, this is how your assessment will be looking like. Okay, you can see the estimated cost for this each and everything. Okay, and you can perform this target location, how much it will be costing on all other stuff. And well, for creating this particular Azure Migrate, okay, you might face certain common issues. Okay, whereas uh, for creating a project, okay, you might be getting an error. No performance data collector is not able to collect to the internet and all other stuff. Okay, so let me come back here. I'll go back to the portal. Okay, this is how. Okay, so if at all if you wanted to migrate your VMware workloads, let's say if at all if you wanted to migrate your Hyper-V workloads, so here okay we are here also okay we'll be downloading one appliance, that is Azure Migrate of appliance, and here okay we are downloading the VHD file. So earlier okay we are downloading the OVA file which has a 12 GB. Here also okay we are downloading the VHD file. And if at all if you wanted to migrate any physical machines, so here you could see we're just downloading a zip file which has certain agents. Okay, that is like Azure Migrate appliance itself. We have to install them and we need to establish a connectivity to the Azure Migrate from your local systems. Okay, so this is how okay we perform the initial discover and assessment, and once you're done with it, okay, you will be getting a clear assessment report. Okay, and once you're done with this everything, so we can perform replicating these servers. Okay, first we'll start replicating, then we'll complete the migration. So when you replicate it, right, okay, your entire servers which from on premises will be just replicated. That means copy paste. It will not like a cut paste. They will be just replicated to Azure, and once they are replicated, okay, we can just complete the migration. When you complete the migration, the connectivity from your on premises servers to Azure will be removed. Okay, so to achieve this, okay, so I'll be sharing certain document. Okay, probably you can go through it. Okay, or else okay, so I'll walk you through the certain demos now itself. To show you the demo, okay, for how to perform using Azure Migrate, I'll give you the step-by-step document. Okay, you can go through it. In the meantime, okay, I'll walk you through how we can perform it. Okay, using Azure Site Recovery. Okay, if you remember, okay, for taking a backup, okay, we have taken a recovery service fault. If you remember, right? So the same way, okay, here you could see the site recovery option. Okay, from the site recovery also, okay, we can migrate your Hyper-V or VMware or Azure missions also to different regions. So before we go ahead here, I'll walk you through the document here. Yeah, this is not the one. Yeah, here you could see. So this is what okay we are discussing about the Azure Migrate. Okay, here you could see what exactly this Azure Migrate is about. If I go here, if I look into here, so what exactly it is going to do. Okay, and all other details. Okay, what are the integrated tools okay that we can have with this particular Azure Migrate, and here you could see ISV integrations, all other stuff. Okay, so in addition to that, okay, under quick start, okay, so how to create it using like ARN template, okay, I don't want to cover it here. If I go to the tutorials, so this is what okay we can see. So when I say discover, okay, how we can discover the VMware workloads. Okay, here you can walk you through the step-by-step document and what are the things that you are going to learn, what are the prerequisites, and what are the things that you need to have it, in terms of access and other stuff. Okay, so you'll be able to see it here in detail. Okay, for performing this particular discovery for the VMware workloads. Here you could see this is the VMware vSphere environment. So here, okay, is how we can go ahead and perform the assessment. Okay, so you can this document. Okay, will walk you through the step by step. Okay, how we can perform the discovery for the VMware workloads. Same way, if at all if you wanted to perform the discover and assessment. Okay, so this part here is the document. So whereas okay, it will give you the clear step by step steps. Okay, if at all if you wanted to perform certain discover assessment, how we are gonna perform. Okay, here we are downloading the VHD file, and okay we'll be installing on top of it your Hyper-V environment. Same thing if at all if you wanted to do it okay on a physical servers, what will be the process. You can go to this particular document, and at the same time if at all if you wanted to migrate certain servers from AWS to Azure, okay, how to perform the discovery, here you could see. Okay, the same thing. Okay, same with the GCP also, that is Google Cloud. If you have created any VMs and if you wanted to migrate them to Azure, so maybe you can go through it. This is for the initial discovery and assessment. Once we have done with the discovery, how to perform the assessment, here you could see. Okay, performing the assessment for the VMware. Okay, so let's say okay, so for the VMware assessment, okay, how it looks like. Okay, so once we were done with this, okay, so this is how, okay, your reports looks like. Okay, it will be discovering the servers, and we need to generate a assessment report here. Okay, so we'll be creating an assessment report, and it will, ask for the all the details, and you have to pass this particular enter assessment properties. Once you're done with it, okay, you will be generated with a separate assessment report like this, which, how many are ready to move to Azure, how many are ready with the conditions and everything. Okay, same way. Okay, so for the Hyper-V workloads also same way. Okay, so once you're done with the, initial discovery, so we'll be performing the assessment. So as part of assessment, okay, it will give the clear indication how much it is going to cost. And once you have it, okay, so this is how, okay, how we can migrate the servers. Okay, here you could see the process for migrating the server. Let's say if I go to the Hyper-V. Okay, so on a Hyper-V, what could be the prerequisites that you need to have? And once you have it, okay, how we are going to perform the migration. Okay, so once you have it, okay, so it will, discover the 4 VMs. Okay, once it is discovered, okay, we can go ahead and, start replicating. Okay, as part of replication, okay, it will ask you certain these details, and, once you pass these particular, specific details, we can go ahead and, perform the replication. And once you're done with the replicating, and you can just go ahead and, enter migration. When you do test migration, so we can, perform the testing whether the application is up and running on the Azure or not. And once you're done with it, you can just, click on migration, that is complete migration. The connectivity will be lost from your on-premises environment to Azure. Same thing, okay, how we can perform by AWS instances also, you can go ahead in detail. An AWS account, if you have the specific instance, okay, so how to do it, all other stuff. Okay, so I'm not going to show you each and everything as a demo because, okay, it will take huge time. So, but probably on a high level, okay, I'm just walking you through the step by steps. So probably you can just try with it. So this is how we can, perform the discovery, assessment, and migrate for the different environments, that is VMware, Hyper-V, and maybe like from different cloud provider to Azure, that is AWS to Azure, or maybe GCP to Azure. And I will also give you certain, step by step document also, okay, for migrating certain servers from AWS environment to Azure. Probably if you have an AWS account also, maybe you can just test it. Okay, post this session, I'm going to provide you certain step by step document. Okay, so if at all if you wanted to perform certain things for the containerized application, yeah, probably you can go here. So ASP data tab containerized and migrate to Azure Kubernetes service. Okay, how we can, perform the, containerized applications, ASP.NET application, and how we can, host it on a AKS cluster. You can go through this particular step by step documents here. Okay, same with the Java application to AKS cluster. Okay, so in addition to that, okay, here you could see like, how we can perform the security aspects. Okay, so how we can perform the discovery related things again. And if I go to the how to guide, okay, how to create the project, okay, just now we have created, right? So this is how we have prepared a project. And if at all if you wanted to prepare to work with the ISV, that is we have additional tools, right? So to perform this particular, migration, like we have seen like, different tools like a Moveray and all other stuff. So how to integrate them and all other stuff you can here you could see. And this is something about the troubleshooting. Let's say while performing the, discovery or assessment or a migrate, what kind of common troubleshooting so that we can face. So probably you can go it here. So these are the certain common troubleshootings. Okay, you can go here. How do I create and find a project? Okay, you can go to the guide. I can't get the uplinks working. Okay, you can go to the answers here. Missions are not discovered. I can go to this particular, what could be common issues and rest of the stuff. And while performing the discovery, if you face any issues, let's say what could be the issues, okay, we can face while performing the discovery. What's supported, invalid OVF mainframe entry, and all other stuff. And date and time synchronization errors. So what need you to do? Right. Same way while performing the assessment, also you might face certain issues. Same with the migration. All right. So this is something about the troubleshoot, and you can go to the reference. Okay, if you wanted to do certain things using PowerShell and CLI, so you will be having certain references here. How to perform the discovering the server. If at all, if you wanted to, get the list of, discovered servers, you could say like a get a, AG migrate discovered servers, so that okay, it will display all the discovered servers in a specific project. And if there are any jobs running, okay, you can go through this particular basic PowerShell commands which are related to Azure Migrate, Migrate. Okay, come back here. And this is something about certain references, and you can go to the additional things here. All right. So moving ahead. So this is pretty much about high level. Okay, just I wanted to cover it in a like in a detail. But coming to the demos, okay, I wanted to do it. Okay, thing I'll give you the step by step documents for migrating a specific Hyper-V servers from your on-premises environment to Azure. So since you do not have an on-premises environment, what you can do is you can create a server on Azure. Okay, and you can just imagine that particular server as a on-premises server. Okay, so let me stop it here for now. Okay, so you can create a server and you can just imagine this particular server as an on-premises server, and you can perform the migration, okay, using this particular document, whatever I'm going to say now. Okay, so just follow the step by steps, and if you face any issues, probably we'll have a demo on Monday. Okay, tomorrow I'm not going to take any sessions, so maybe probably I'm going to take one more session on Monday. So on Monday, okay, we'll see that. Okay, this is something about on a high level about migration, and the same way, okay, for performing the DR also, let's say Azure BCDR. Okay, so business continuity disaster recovery BCDR is nothing but, so here you could see certain migration strategies. So how we can perform these? Okay, you can go with the Microsoft Learn pages. Okay, so instead of these, let's say, yeah, I'll go with any one of these. Okay, let's say for performing the disaster DR, that is disaster recovery. So whereas let's say I'll open any one of these images here. Okay, not this one. Okay, let me open any one of these. Okay, I'll walk you through this for now. Okay, this also I'll give you the high level steps, and I will give you certain documents. Okay, just try to practice. So what happens is, let's say if you have an application which is up and running on a one region. Okay, so these things, okay, hosted and availability set and the rest of the stuff. Let's imagine, and here you could see. Okay, so this is one of the web server, and they are using a load balancer to load the to route the traffic, and we have few more servers. Okay, so for the databases, okay, to route the traffic. This is like a three-tier application. Okay, web tier, app tier, and DB tier, right? So for okay, to distribute the load, okay, in between these, each tier, okay, they are using the load balancer, and this entire setup, okay, they hosted in a single virtual network. So let's say due to any disaster, okay, I wanted to replicate my server, my the entire application to another region. So within Azure, okay, we have a supported regions, so we cannot just replicate the servers into any one of the regions that you wanted. So into that particular supported regions, okay, so we can replicate those, okay, in case of any DR, by using this particular Azure Site Recovery. Okay, so to perform these things, okay, let me go back to the portal. Okay, let me go back to this particular Azure Recovery Service Vault. So within Azure Recovery Service Vault, okay, we have a service called ASR, that is Site Recovery. If you wanted to perform the see things here, Azure Virtual Machines replication, that means so we can replicate the workloads from one region to the another region which are running on Azure. At the same time, we can replicate the servers of on premises to Azure also. Let's say if at all if you wanted to perform the replication within Azure itself. Okay, so it will ask me the certain details. Source location could be like where your VMs are running. Let's say my VM is running on a Vest2ES. Okay, and it will ask you for the Azure Virtual Machine deployment model. So currently we are going with the ARM model, and the source of subscription it will ask, and source resource group it will ask. Let's say my source resource group is this one, and here if at all if you wanted to perform the disaster recovery between the availability zones, okay, by default it is no. And availability zones, okay, you have to select if at all if there are any. So do I have any VM here? Let's say I'll go with the Linux mission. I think I have it here one. Okay, I can choose this, I can give the source details here, and the next step, okay, I have to provide the particular virtual mission. I think okay, whatever the resource group I have chosen, I do not have any VMs. Let's say I'll go with the another resource group. Yeah, here I have a one virtual machine. Okay, I can choose it, and if I go to the next, the virtual machine should be up and running. Okay, that could be in a shutdown mode, I guess. Let me start the VMs first. I'll go back to the VMs and let me start all the VMs for now. And they are hosted, okay, in a respective regions. So Linux RG, this is what I was trying, which is hosted in a West US. And a VM blade itself, okay, if you go to the VM blade, okay, you can see the option called disaster. Okay, here you could see the DR, disaster recover. So if you go here also from here, okay, you can just set up these things. Okay, to achieve this, okay, the VM should be up and running. So we just initiated this particular, starting the VM, right? So maybe you can see the status, it is still starting. And once it is coming as a running, and once these all these options are enabled, you will be able to perform the additional operations. Let's come back here and let's try to do refresh. It is still starting. Yeah, it's running up and running now. So now if I go back and do a refresh here, yeah. So now I can choose the source details, and when I go to the next, okay, I can choose the Linux virtual machine. If I go to the next, and this time it is not giving an error because okay, the VM is already up and running. So likewise, okay, so if at all if I wanted to replicate, and here you could see my target regions. Okay, let me show you this directly from the portal itself. Okay, so that directly from the VM blade, so that you will be having a better visibility. So if I come back here, if I go click on this particular disaster recovery, right? So here, okay, it will ask you to the target regions. So since my source VM is present on a West US, so I can just replicate these West US VM into this particular targeted regions. Okay, here you could see uh, the source region will be like a West US, which is indicated as a blue legend, and selected region will be like in a East US, and available target regions okay located in a green. So if at all if my VM is running on a East US, I can replicate them. Okay, in case of any DR, okay, only on these particular supported regions. Let's say I can also replicate to Japan or East also. That means from West US to Japan East also I can replicate my workloads. We have like this, okay, we have a target in a specific supported regions. So in those regions only I have to perform this particular replication. Okay, here whatever the target region I choose, okay, here you could see the indication from the Microsoft end, right? So let me come back here. So here I'm choosing my target region. Let's say I'll go with the East to US, and you have to choose the target subscription. Okay, I'm going with the same subscription, and you need to choose this particular target resource group, network, and storage. If I come back here, if at all if you wanted to replicate your entire workloads, okay, so this is your source and this is your target, and I'm achieving this using Azure Site Recovery. Okay, so here, okay, we need to choose the subscription and the resource group and the storage account to replicate this data. This storage account will be acting as a cache. Okay, it will store the data in the cache form, okay, to to available the data to your application. Let's come back here. Here you could see target resource group. It is going to take default create as a ASR at the end, and the target network, and target storage account, cache storage account, and a replication manager disk. Okay, a premium disk will be created. Okay, and the target available set if at all if you have, and approximately placement group. So if you wanted to see what exactly this approximately placement group is like, is one of the target location which is the failed over the over VM and associated to. That means, so whenever you perform the failover, okay, so this particular entire workload should be replicated to this particular uh, specific group. Let's say if I come back here, so whatever the servers I have here, okay, so I'm just creating this particular as a specific groups. So here, okay, I can choose the complete, replication settings. Okay, for that, okay, I'll be choosing these, target resource group, virtual network. These are all by default getting created. If you at all, if you wanted to create a new, if at all, if you wanted to customize it, you can go ahead and do that also. And here, okay, I need to create a replication policy. Okay, so like while taking a backup, also like we have created certain policy, right? So here also I have to create a replication policy. Okay, so here you could see, okay, replication policy. So if at all if you wanted to create a new, let's say what are the options we have. So we can pass the name and recovery point retention. Let's say, okay, so this RPO we call it is like how retention, how many days, okay, we can recover this particular thing. Okay, within 24 hours, okay, we can recover this. App consistency snapshot. Okay, that means if I keep every 4 hours, for every 4 hours, okay, it will take the it will replicate the data and it will create a one snapshot. That means, okay, here as a replication policy, if I take the app consistency snapshot frequency, so for every 4 hours, okay, whatever the application is up and running here, right? Okay, it will replicate this entire data into this particular thing in a snapshot mode, and that entire data will be stored in the form of snapshot. And once I perform the failover, it will completely replicate it here by using this particular snapshot. Okay, so like in a multi VM consistency, if I wanted to perform certain things, okay, I can go ahead and do it for creating a new replication groups and all other stuff. And for now, okay, I'm not going to create any new replication policy also. Let me come back here. So like this, okay, you can create a replication policy. So let me click on okay by default. And if in addition to that, okay, if you wanted to have any extensions, okay, you can go ahead here and you can just click on enable replication. What happens is, okay, when you click on enable replication, it will start creating this entire target environment. So for this, to show you a demo, I just already created a one target environment here. I'll go back to this particular recovery service, what it'll say. Okay, so for one of the server, okay, here if I come back here, if I go to the replicated items, okay, so this is what, okay, I have initiated yesterday just to show you a demo. And when I click on it, first, okay, when I click on enable replication, okay, this is what it is going to happen. So before this, okay, let me go back here. I'll come back here. If I go to the resource groups, so this is the target resource group which is created. So as part of this target resource group, okay, so performing the replication, okay, it has created with a suffix called ASR. So whereas it has created a certain VNet and a separate premium disk. So in this disk, okay, your entire data will be your virtual machine related data will be having. Okay, so once I go back here, and this is okay, this is what, okay, my entire replicated items. So once how this particular items are replicated, I can do the test failover. So when I test failover, my entire VM will be copied to the secondary region, that is from east to east to like west to east to east to east, from source to destination. And once you're done with it, okay, once you're done with the test, and you can go with the test failover, and we can now when you do a failover, this entire workloads will be moved from primary region to the secondary region. And once everything is fine and well and good, we can fail back also. Okay, so that, okay, you can just try it. And here you could see the diagram here. So I'm just replicating my workload from west to east to east to east. And this is what, okay, so the like infrastructure view, my virtual machine is here. This is which is so it is what, okay, I have shown it environment. So for this, to show you a demo, I what, okay, to the secondary region. And once everything is fine and well and good, we can fail back also. Okay, so that, okay, you can just try it. And here you could see the diagram here. So I'm just replicating my workload from west to east to east to east. And this is what, okay, so the like infrastructure view, my virtual machine is here. This is which is in east to east. And this is my target region, that is east to east. And within a east to east, okay, under this recovery service world, I'm just not replicating this entire data, and which will be stored in a managed disk. it will be we have created a certain policy, right? Replication policy. For every 4 hours this entire data will be copied and stored under this particular disk. Okay, so this is something like how we can perform the replication, that is DR, on a high level. I'm covering it, so maybe probably I'll save the document, probably can go through step by steps. Excuse me. So for performing this particular thing on a step by step, okay, let me walk you through the document also. Let's come back here. Okay. Okay, set up a disaster recover to a secondary Azure region for a Azure VM. Okay, so here you could see the site recovery page under a first page. Okay, under quick start. Okay, here you could see details. So what could be the prerequisites and how we can perform these things. Okay, this is what, okay, I have shown it, right? Okay, on a VM blade itself. Okay, we'll be choosing the target region, and we'll be reviewing the start, and we'll be verifying these particular details, and after that, okay, we'll be cleaning up the resource. Probably you can just go through this document, and you can just replicate your servers from one region to the another region. And this is all, okay, I just covered it on a high level. So showing your labs, probably I will give you the documents, probably just utilize this weekend, okay, to just practice it. Or maybe if you're finding any issues, probably it will be we have created a certain policy, right? Replication policy. For every 4 hours this entire data will be copied and stored under this particular disk. Okay, so this is something like how we can perform the replication, that is DR, on a high level. I'm covering it, so maybe probably I'll save the document, probably can go through step by steps. Excuse me. So for performing this particular thing on a step by step, okay, let me walk you through the document also. Let's come back here. Okay. Okay, set up a disaster recover to a secondary Azure region for a Azure VM. Okay, so here you could see the site recovery page under a first page. Okay, under a quick start. Okay, here you could see details. So what could be the prerequisites and how we can perform these things. Okay, this is what, okay, I have shown it, right? Okay, on a VM blade itself. Okay, we'll be choosing the target region, and we'll be reviewing the start, and we'll be verifying these particular details, and after that, okay, we'll be cleaning up the resource. Probably you can just go through this document, and you can just replicate your servers from one region to the another region. And this is all, okay, I just covered it on a high level. So showing your labs, probably I will give you the documents, probably just utilize this weekend, okay, to just practice it. Or maybe if you're finding any issues, probably